Here we go. Welcome, everybody, to our Monday Veterans Day session of Brown and Browner. Respect to all former military and all the veterans out there. We thank you for your service.
We thank you for your service.
We are here to just kind of recap the weekend sports events and obviously life in its own self. But at the same time, I'm going to quickly start off with a very quick note. If you've been watching sports, obviously football was the biggest thing on the weekend, but I'm going to
always
start
the
off,
biggest thing on the weekend, all the way through until January.
Despite what everybody says, it is America's sport. Let's face facts. Baseball has kind of gone by the wayside. But on that note, I'll go to a more global sport really quick. MLS soccer. I don't know if you guys have been watching, but the playoffs started, and the top 4 teams are all out. Including the team that finished with the best record ever in the history of the MLS, which is Miami with Messi.
Wow.
It's akin to having Steph Curry and the Warriors lose first round back in the day.
All 4 teams, the 4 best teams in the league, are now no longer in the playoffs to win the championship.
All 4 of them lost in 3 games. Yeah, there's basically 3 game round of best of 3 in the first round, and all 3 of them lost. Or sorry, all 4 of the top seeds lost in the MLS playoff.
My question is this: does that suggest parity, or that's just suggests the arrogance of those teams just thinking the first round is a walkover?
Both. I mean, I saw a little bit. I watched the Miami game. I watched the Cincinnati game, and I feel for Miami it's probably pure arrogance, if anything. You got way too much star power to lose.
Way too much. Yeah.
So I don't know what happened there. Granted, goalkeeper for Atlanta, kudos to you. Brought marvelous job at the end of the game than what I watched. But yeah, I think it's a combination of both. But what does that say about soccer in this country as a whole? I mean, we're leading into the 2026 World Cup here very shortly, including Copa. We're trying to make headwinds as a nation to playing a global sport that's respected on a global scale, that's watched by the most people in the world, by the way. And we got nothing to show for it from our own league and our own country's team in its own.
Well, and let's just be real about this. The league really is built on those players who came from overseas and come and play here in their twilight.
Yes. And
they're still better than all of our players.
Yeah, look at Pele for the New York Cosmos at age 40. I mean,
I was going to say, was he 50?
He might have been 100 as far as I'm concerned. We don't know his real age.
Well, and the other thing is this, and I think it's relevant, the first thing that I said, but the second thing I think is even more relevant. Go to any other country outside of the United States. How many major sports do they have that attract, the highest of athletes, of those, young people who are, participating in those sports?
You got soccer, obviously, is the premier. There's no question about it. Like, that's their top tier sport. There's no question.
Yeah.
Then you got certain countries that have cricket, which is a big thing.
Well, soccer, cricket, tennis, golf, and what?
And that's about it. I mean, rugby here and there, but that's about it. Yeah. I mean, that's not a global sport. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So again, I understand why America's in this dilemma and has been in this dilemma for the longest, because we've got baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and then all those other sports that we talked about.
Yeah.
But the main 4 are taking a majority of the really good athletes away. Yes. So what do you have left? That's what you're picking for our soccer. So there is I think that is the biggest reason why we see such a gap between all of the other countries and how they play soccer and America.
Well, I would almost argue that it almost had to do with money, but it really doesn't, because soccer players are paid the most if you think about it on an average basis. If you look at just the top tiers of the top sports and who's paid, it's individual sports. You got little like tennis and golf here and there, but all the soccer players are paid hundreds of millions of dollars,
But those are soccer players over there. Our soccer players, who you got, Pulisic or whatever, and who else?
But where are they playing?
They're playing over there. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's how you get the money. Anybody who's playing here, if you go to the MLS, the people who are eating up the big salaries are the guys coming from Europe. They're the ones getting paid. I don't know what the average MLS salary is, but I'm thinking it's not like Europe.
You had to get Messi over here. You had to give him an ownership stake in a team. I mean, how bad?
That's what I'm saying. So I think we're just at a deficit to start with, which makes it really hard for us to make up the gap to be competitive in the world when it comes to soccer. We might be able to beat some people in Chile and Paraguay, and but we're not going to even beating most countries in South America. When we play our Copa Cup, we don't even make that. So
you could offer, well, and again, you could offer all the money in the world to come play in the United States, but they ain't coming here. And they ain't, because they got better competition, better money, better marketability, everything else abroad. No question.
And that's exactly right. Because they come here. How are you marketing soccer here?
Yeah. No.
Against the Big Four.
I could dare I say that probably barely maybe 20% of the population knew who Christian Pulisic is. And he's one of the arguably the greatest players in the world right now, which is scary,
Well, see, and that's why we do what we do, people, because we actually follow all sports. I mean, we don't have a himbo, we don't have all of the fancy things behind us to where we can pull stats. Our stats are all from our head, and we're freestyling, for lack of a better term, because we know enough about all sports to be able to talk reasonably, directly, and sensibly to those sports.
We respect athletes and the ability of having that gift at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what your sport is, but we are respectful of all that, and we understand what the cross-platform is. So that's why we speak to it all. Absolutely.
Yep, and we applaud it. We applaud it. Again, sports is the way we bring the world together.
Yes,
so that includes all sports, not just the sports in America. And I grew up the same way as many of you. It's like America, the only sports I know are these sports. No, there are other sports like cricket and soccer that really capture the world's imagination. And we have a lot, remember, we grow up with the idea that America is the world in a lot of places. And I'm glad that we're able to branch out and give more information about sports that are being celebrated across the world and not just in America. However, the NFL still rules, y'all.
Indeed. And on that note, we shall bring up the great weekend that was NFL football. To some degree, even college football is obviously taking off now because you're kind of getting the
What happened to Georgia? I'm so glad that they actually lost. I heard some pregame stuff, and they're like, what was it, Ole Miss? Was it Lance? What's his name? The guy who used to coach under Nick Saban?
Lane Kiffin, yep.
Lane Kiffin, yeah. I was going to say Lance Kiffin. I'm happy to see him win and to beat Georgia. And now I want to see what they do with this 12-team playoff, because some of the biggest names are 2 losses and going down to possibly 3.
2 losses, and even had some undefeated teams. You had Miami fall, and they've got potentially a Heisman candidate winner, a quarterback there. It's getting interesting. I do, as much as I don't like the fact that we had to expand the playoffs and everything else, and I get the whole reason for it, at the end of the day, this is actually going to make it fun, because now you've got pure parity in college football where it could be any given day and any given weekend. You're going to see some cool upsets. And I hate to say it, a lot of it is relegated to the SEC, because you've got literally some of the best teams in that monster conference, and any given weekend you can get an upset there. But you're going to get the Oregon, who's number 1 right now. You got Texas coming out. You got Bama. You got Georgia. You got Tennessee. You got everybody coming out of the woodwork right now, jockeying up for position. It's going to be interesting to see which team can pull off a 3-weekend, run basically to win the playoffs. That's what it's going to take basically.
And it's sort of like what we see in March Madness. I actually applaud this expansion, because the committee gets sort of too narrowly focused on the big name teams, and all of these other teams who are going undefeated or 1 loss don't even get consideration. And I think that's wrong, and it's unfair. They can't control who they play. They could just win what they win. So when you get this bigger playoff scheme, now look at the top 5. So the top 5 right now: Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Indiana. That's 4 of the 5 Big Ten teams. Oregon, I'm going to put the asterisk there because they're not Big Ten. They're still the Pac-10. I'm sorry.
But they did beat Ohio State. You got to give them credit.
Well, and that's awesome, and I love that. And they deserve to be where they are. It's just, we've talked about it too, the whole logistics around what we see in college football. Like I say, Big Ten, 4 of those 5 teams are Big Ten teams and have been historically Big Ten teams with Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana.
Think about the pressure at the
3
top
of those
right
teams.
now.
Excuse me.
Well, think about the pressure at the top right now. So Ryan Day, coach at Ohio State, is on the hot seat because if he doesn't win the national championship, they're saying he could be fired. Penn State, you got James Franklin, who can't beat Ohio State if his life depended on it, apparently.
Which many teams in the Big Ten can say. Michigan took a while to get them over the hump.
And yet you're still talking about a top 5 team. This is a top 5 program with elite players that come out every year. And it's sad to say that we are at that competitive landscape. One loss makes or breaks your season. Apparently,
well, you know what? That's how it used to be. I don't feel like it's like that anymore. So before this expansion, it was always you lose one game, all of a sudden you drop from first to 20th, and you were never going to be seen again. Now you actually have a chance. Talk about Alabama. Alabama's ranked 9th. They got 2 losses.
Yep.
That would never happen in the old format. So I do applaud this new format. There will always be arguments. Georgia fell to 11th. I mean, are they the 11th best team in the nation? Probably not. They're probably better than that.
I mean, they'll only have 30 draft picks on the board come April. So, you know,
and that's the reality of this. And that's why I wasn't the biggest college football fan. I'm starting to like it a little bit more because of the parity, because of the licensing now and paying. But see, being able to utilize the portal has transformed teams. Ask Colorado where they would be if they didn't have players coming through the portal, and many other teams. Ask the teams who don't utilize the portal, like Clemson. What has that done for their team? And Clemson was on top not that long ago. So, you know, and where are they now? I don't even see their name in the list. They're ranked 17th, just in front of Colorado. So again, I think this has helped college football because it is not just the big 4 teams and everybody else just sort of plays for, you know, the Q-tip bowl and the socks being sold at the side of the Expressway Bowl and the Aldi Bowl. You know, come on, man.
No, you see, and frankly, college football did a brilliant job of figuring out how to get more dollars in. I mean, that's what I'll say, the simple facts of it. They created a bit more competitive landscape. I mean, think about it. If Deion Sanders and Colorado get into the top 12, holy crap, you're going to see a playoff ticket that's going to be insane to watch because everybody wants to watch Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter go against the big dogs like Georgia and Alabama. And it would be fun to watch, let me tell you.
It would be. And people have said he might be coach of the year. I don't know. If I give coach of the year vote, Love Deion was my favorite NFL player back in the day. However, the guy from Indiana, went backwards to go forwards. I saw the story.
I want to see a natty out of that team. I would love to see Indiana upend the entire system. And
I would love to see that. Love to see it. I think that's what college football needs because that would be that adrenaline injection to all of the fans across the nation to say, hey, our team can be number 1, 2. Yep. But you never had that before this. It was always, you knew you were going to see a 1 Big Ten team, 2 SEC teams, and another team, possibly
a Big 12 or an ACC. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
yep, absolutely.
But now the landscape actually allows for teams like Indiana to be part of that. Now here's the thing that's, I get it, but I don't get it. You're 10-0. And you're ranked 5th, and they weren't ranked 5th last week. I think they were like 8th or 9th or something like that. It took teams to fall to get them up.
Yep.
How are you undefeated? And again, I get it because maybe you're not playing the same competition, but they are in the Big Ten.
Well, they haven't beat the biggest dogs yet. That's the reason I say, like, you got Oregon who beat Ohio State, right? So that's
right.
Like a 1 team up. You know, it was a 2-3 up at that time. That was big. Georgia and Alabama played when they were top 3. That was another. Texas and Georgia played. Texas, Alabama. So. I think as Indiana goes later in the season, I believe they still got Ohio State on their docket. I believe they still got Michigan on their docket. I got to look back at their schedules.
Michigan ain't this year, though.
Michigan's nothing, but in name, that gets you points, right? So as long as they beat Penn States, the Ohio States, and even if they play Oregon, I don't know if they play Oregon before the Big Ten championship, but
I'm not sure if they do, but I do think they play Ohio State. And they don't even need to win that game, but they need to show that they're really competitive
show the world that they
can getting blown out.
Yep. So no, that definitely makes it interesting. So I mean, the level of respect given to undefeated teams, I think, has taken a hit in the last 10 years. I think it was I forget, it was UCF or USF, one of those teams. They went undefeated for the whole year. They proclaimed themselves national champions because they were undefeated.
I think it was UCF.
Yeah, they didn't beat anybody. You know.
No, and you're right, and that does matter. Strength of schedule does matter. I could have 10 Appalachian State type teams on my docket. Now, if I lose to them, that's going to hit. I'm going to take a big hit. but the odds of me winning are 75% better in all of those games.
You can be 12-0 and then go win the Poinsettia Bowl. It's not going to matter. And longer rub. Here's my thing. I'm glad the college football set up the playoff because now it allows the best players on the best teams to showcase themselves and not want to sit out. Because that really pissed me off the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, a lot of the big names sat out.
Would sit out the bowl game to protect their draft status and everything else. And I get that.
I totally get it. You're protecting your investment.
But at the end of the day, don't you play for your team and your school anymore? You don't. And that's the sad part. And in the NIL era, that part has changed, unfortunately. Brand loyalty has completely gone down the tube. And I hate that because one of the things that's missed out of college football and even college basketball are the rivalries. You no longer have these certified rivalries. Yeah, in the SEC, you get to preserve it because honestly, their conference has stayed intact. But when does Oregon and Indiana turn into a rivalry?
Well, that's not an NIL thing. That's just college football consolidating things so they can work their way to like one major overarching conference.
Right.
Well, which is probably going to be the SEC.
Yeah, we're just going to call it the SEC and the rest, basically.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree with you. I think that rivalries are important from a fan base perspective. I love seeing rivalries, and it gets you up to watch that game more so than any other game.
I'm sorry, you can easily get 250,000 people going to a border war between Missouri and Kansas, but that hasn't happened since 2008. That's a sad truth of it. Same thing with Kentucky, Tennessee is a huge rivalry, and that'll exist in the SEC only because the conference stayed intact, but. You destroy rivalries around the country. Oregon State. They're 2 different conferences now.
You'll never see that again.
Oklahoma State. 2 different conferences now. You destroyed the integrity of some of those things. In state,
and those games, regardless of how those teams are doing, will still get the kind of viewership and kind of support that if they were ranked number 1. And that's what they're losing. But they know what they're doing. College sports have been making money for a long, long time. And even though they're sharing a little bit of it now, which is about this much of the big pie that they're making, they know how to run college football. That's like health insurance. That never takes a ding. You're always going to raise those costs. You're always going to make more money. That's just how it works.
People are going to pay. And that's the thing. People are going to pay. I think we've talked to some of our colleagues at work, too, who have gone to games. You're paying more to attend a college football game than an NFL game.
Yep.
Yeah. And people will pay and respect the game in that fashion. So no,
and the other thing with college football is many of the states that we talk about don't truly have NFL teams. Kentucky doesn't have an NFL team or an NBA team or an NHL team or a Major League Baseball team. So, that's all they have. So they're going to come out en masse to see those events because Friday night light under the lights or whatever, Friday night lights, that was all about the things that we see in rural America with high school and college football being king.
I can't tell you the number of stadiums I've driven by when I've visited Texas almost every year. And it's not even like I'm going to West Texas. I'm going just to anything between the DFW area. Those high school stadiums are bigger than college facilities. It is scary how devoted are to that game in those places. And the SEC, no different. Every single stadium is 100,000 at every university. We know that. The Big Ten, every single stadium is 100,000 no matter what. Now the Big Ten's a little different because you do have pro teams in that area, but you have loyalty to the small town. You got the Columbuses, you got the Ann Arbors, you got you got Illinois, you got Indiana. All those places have some of the biggest schools in the country. But in the SEC, it's a religion.
Well, and that goes back to the whole idea of what we were saying earlier, that sports brings people together.
Yes, sir.
It just does that. And people love sports. It's one of the most watched forms of entertainment in the world. And if we can continue to, 1, keep the integrity of all of these sports intact, and 2, make sure that we respect the sports in a way that brings people to want to watch it versus a lot of the stuff you might be seeing today where we're downing sports and downing the people in the sports. And don't get me wrong, we're going to do the same thing in just a couple minutes. But we just need to be mindful of that because this is the thing that keeps everybody together. I don't care if you're prejudiced. I don't care if what ills or hate that you have in your heart. When you have somebody you might hate right next to you, rooting for the same thing, it's sort of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's sort of that kind of mentality. Yep. At least for an hour or 2 or 3 or however long that event happened. Then they go back to their regular ways right after that.
I'll transition that over to kind of kicking off in the NFL recap here. And the first thing I'll start with is something pretty minor, but minor not. So the NFL decided to put a game out in Germany. Great. Awesome for the fans. Awesome for the base. But they set 2 of the worst franchises in the world between the Giants.
You see that, y'all? You see that? And the Giants and the Panthers.
And from what I understand, I didn't watch the game. I didn't hear they got the game. I just saw some stuff about it. They sent Post Malone to perform at halftime. It's like you sent like not even Post Malone, like something third degree, like third world out there, like to perform. It was horrible.
Like a D-list entertainer.
Yes, it was D-list entertainment at its finest. And then, of course, the Panthers pull it out, of course, of all things.
It was actually a good game.
It's a game.
And I have to tip my cap off to the Carolina organization. Going back to what we just talked about, there was a lot of hate being thrown at Carolina of the way that they handled Bryce Young, which I don't disagree with the things that were said because I do think that they were valid. Yeah. But to have Bryce Young be able to come back off the bench and get 2 victories, which he couldn't get the other 18 games he played before Big Red took over. Yeah. A lot of players, their confidence would have been crushed. He came from Alabama. He used to being the man. So for him to be able to bounce back and do what he's doing, and a shout out to Chubba Hubbard, Hubba Bubba, whatever you want to call him. I'm going to call him Hubba Bubba because the dude is just chewing the yards up, baby. He is chewing it up.
Man got paid too last week, if you recall. He got a 4-year, $32 million extension.
I saw that.
I was surprised that he took it because it's in Carolina, but hey, more power to him. He's happy there. I'll take it.
And what did you say the contract was?
Only $32 million for 4 years, so only $8 million a year.
Listen to that.
Guess what? Let's transition that to Jerry's world.
Well, enough. So we're talking about those are the 2 worst franchises. Had a good game. I think Dallas right now, if you would ask me, if you look across the NFL landscape, they're the 3rd worst team in the NFL, or maybe the 4th, because you could throw the Jets in there too.
Worse after this week. I mean, you lost Dak for the season. Your owner's, I don't even know what to make of him or his manager or whatever you want to call him anymore.
He's going senile. I'm sorry, Jerry. You've done a great job of propping up your franchise, but you're losing your mind.
When your players are complaining about your coach, when your players are complaining about the sunshine in your stadium because you haven't built the damn place correctly, and I could attest to that one because I've been there.
I've been there too. That AT&T Stadium though is a marvel. Remember we had our event there.
Beautiful place.
Love it.
Beautiful place. But when you have to have your players face the sun every Sunday, as if.
Well, I think the sad thing about that, America's team, they're not. But the saddest thing is, you're hearing the dissension in their locker room. One of their biggest players, Michael Parsons, got out and he spoke to the press and said that he's playing for guys like Martin, who have been there and laid out all of their, hearts to be a winner. And he says he's done more, meaning Martin, than McCarthy has ever done.
Yep.
I don't know. Again, this is a different time and age. I don't think I ever heard a player say something like that about their coach, like directly to the media like that.
I mean, I'll say this once and I'll say it again. I've never thought Mike McCarthy was a great coach. I don't care about his successes in Green Bay, anything like that. I just don't see him as somebody that the players can respect. I didn't see him that way in Green Bay, and obviously Green Bay parted ways with him in a timely manner in the same fashion. And I'm pretty sure if you were to probably get some catch-all book by Aaron Rodgers, who also sucks, by the way, and he'll probably write a book later in life saying, hey, Mike McCarthy wasn't my favorite coach or whatever. I don't care. Either way, he wasn't the right fit as a coach when he got hired by Dallas. I said it then, and I'll say it again now. They could have gotten somebody better. And frankly, this is a testament to it. You've got way too many personalities and way too many egos, including your own owner, to deal with. Mike McCarthy is not the guy that can handle it. And now you're seeing the after effects where now the players are going to turn on their coaches. They're going to turn on everything else. You haven't brought in the right coordinators. And again, Jerry needs a general manager, but he thinks he can be God. And, this is the result of it at the end of the day.
And that was going to be my question. So you may be right about Mike McCarthy and his overall coaching skills and how he relates to players, etc. I don't think he's that great at it. But given the history of the Dallas Cowboys, the last coach that was great at it was either Barry Switzer or Jimmy Johnson, because they actually won in that environment. Nobody else has won in that environment. And remember, you had great coaches like Bill Parcells who couldn't stand it there, because in order for you to coach, you can't have your mama keep coming in your room telling you to clean your room up. You can't have that. That just then it reduces your ability to get the respect from your team.
Sometimes I wonder if Jerry Jones has the ability to tap into the quarterback's ear mid-game and call plays as much as an offensive coordinator does.
Knowing him, I could see him doing that because his ego's that big. But how are they ever going to win if he's the owner? Because I'm not going to, as a coach, I want my career to flourish. I can't flourish with you telling me what to do all the time.
Well, I'll step it back further. He can remain the owner. He needs to understand that he is not a GM, has never been a good GM, and needs to be a GM. He needs to get a GM to separate that battle. And at the end of the day,
it can't be his son, and it can't be a relative.
Can't be his relative, can't be his cousin, can't be his nephew, whoever that wants to be. I don't care, but it needs to create a separation between owner and coach. You have to do it in every sport. It doesn't work any other way. I mean, there are very few times where that has succeeded. In basketball, that was Phil Jackson. He made it work, even though he had a GM that, was obviously crazy off his rails too. In football, like you just said, if Bill Parcells, who we know to be a great coach, couldn't overcome that, that's a bad sign too. I mean, it took a bigger personality like a Switzer or Jimmy Johnson to do that somehow in Dallas. It just doesn't work that way in any other sport. I mean, you have to have the separation. You need to bring in a GM, Jerry Jones. Listen up. And more importantly, you need a new coach, because at this point, your players are calling you out. I don't even know what your play calling is half the time, because honestly, it looks mind-bogglingly stupid. So
just doesn't make sense. They look like the Bears. They were throwing passes down the yard line, not going vertical. They were going horizontal. And it was like 3rd and 9, and they threw like an out to CeeDee Lamb, and there's nobody in front of him blocking, and they thought he would just get 9 yards magically. You just can't win like that. And you can't win with Cooper Rush. And you should have given Trey Lance a chance, because if he was that high of a pick a few years ago, fuck a Cooper Rush. You know your season's dead. Put that guy in there and see what you got. But this is like, it's dysfunction across the board with Dallas. And I do think it starts with the owner. I think that, we did talk about not giving him that much pub, so I would like to move on from this. But one thing that I think is relevant here is, until Jerry Jones removes himself from the equation, and I don't even just mean getting a general manager, because if you get a general manager and you treat the general manager like you're doing everything else, then it doesn't change. But until he moves away from this, and somebody with a true football mind is running the show there, they will never win. You hear me, all you Cowboys fans? They will never win. And you guys know it too. You know it too.
Jerry should be relegated to 2 things. He can continue to market, because obviously he's done a brilliant job raising the value of the brand, but that and maybe a Tuesday radio show, and that's it. Everything else, he should be hands off, let the rest of the organization work.
Okay, I would agree with you, except the radio show.
The radio show.
He's being Jerry on that radio show, saying some of the dumbest things that don't even make sense, and he puts his foot in his mouth. I'm going all in, but we need to be able to. We couldn't get Derrick Henry because we couldn't make it work. Get the hell out of here. So just stop talking.
Derrick Henry was $7-8 million. Can't remember the exact number. Chuba Hubbard, $8 million.
But you went and got Rico Dowdle. That's a draft pick. I'm okay with that. But you went back and got a guy just a year removed from your team who wasn't showing any promise, showing any effort. He goes to New England. You get him back. Why?
You went and got a guy that looks like Tracy Morgan from The Longest Yard. I mean, it didn't make sense.
Well, and I'm sorry. Zeke had his run. He got paid. And I think that's all Zeke wanted to do. He has never done a damn thing since he signed that contract years ago. And you should recognize that and not pay the man again.
I've never had anything to do with Ohio State, but I have an indictment against anything that comes out of Ohio State. And I'll tell you this. No, there's nothing successful that comes out of Ohio State. Unfortunately.
Every quarterback except Stroud. What's that?
I said Justin Fields with hope and a prayer, but it hasn't worked out. And now I'll transition to Russell Wilson.
Well, and that's a great transition because that was a great game. Washington, you should have won that game. You gave it away. But I have to apologize.
Yep.
No one should say anything to Mike Tomlin about any decision he makes, because the guy has proven over and over and over again that he's a true leader and he knows what the hell he's doing. So I apologize because I thought he was wrecking Justin's career and that he wasn't going to get much more out of Russell. He's revived Russell, and Russell is the perfect elixir for what they needed, because even though they were doing well, Justin Fields 4-2, Russell Wilson throws the long ball better than anybody.
The clean long ball, and more importantly, he's gone from having George Pickens be a player 10% of the time to 50% of the time. Not many people can do that.
Right. And the more you feed someone like that, it's sad to say, the better they'll perform, because now all of a sudden they're not pouting in the corner. They're out and they're feeling energized because they feel like they're part of the game. Kudos to Russell Wilson. I thought he was washed up. I didn't think he was worth anything. So that's on me. I give you guys all the props. Don't ever question Mike Tomlin again.
That's on all of us, and that's the thing. And now the Steelers are now the second or third best team in the AFC. You got the Chiefs, you got the Bills, you got the Steelers. I mean, it's you got legit powerhouse. Now there's a 1-2 matchup next week that we can talk about here shortly in Buffalo.
Steelers Buffalo?
Yeah, nope.
It's Kansas City Buffalo. Yeah, we can talk about that one.
Oh yeah. So I mean, first off, Chiefs special teams. Leo Chenal, MVP. Thank you. That's all I can say this year. That man has done everything for us. He is the cog that makes that defense work. You got him, Chris Jones. You got George Karlaftis. You got the boys running that team right now, because that offense, not that great. Not that great.
It's pedestrian at best. And I tell you what, they're winning games without being able to score over 20 points. That is a good thing that they've won them. I think it's a scary thing to count on every week. And it's been happening every week. And that is not a good sign to me, because they have yet to get the offense going. Their defense can only save the day so many times. They should have lost that game yesterday. I felt like they were outplayed. I felt like outside of that blocked field goal, they would have lost that game.
Denver is a legitimate threat. Give them 2 years to build that team and Sean Payton to get it together. I think they've got the makings of a great team in that defense. I mean, that defense is stout. We know that for Denver. They're building it, and Patrick Surtain is a man-child. That dude is the next great DB in the league. There's no question. They've got Bo Nix ain't getting credit. He might be age 30, coming out of college or whatever. He might have played 8 years, but you know what? That dude can play.
He can play. He throws a decent ball. He can run the ball. And quite frankly, Bo, if you're listening, I don't know if Bo Ricks are still out there where you could get the $8 haircut, because I hear haircuts are like $20, $30, $40, $50 now, which is absurd. Okay. You should go and get your campaign going, because your name fits right with it. You could be like the barber on the side, and they go, Bo Nix, and you just do that. I'm telling you, man, that's where you need to be.
Originally, I was going to say he could pair with Bo Jackson, but Bo Jackson ain't going to allow anything from the state of Colorado after being a true Kansas and Missourian for so long. But
yeah, plus Bo is just Bo. Bo actually knew. The other guy was Bo. That was the real
true.
Bo.
That is true.
Not Riddick Bo.
And
Bo.
Yeah, exactly.
Bo knows.
But that said, congratulations to the Chiefs for holding on. But I think next week is honestly going to be that game where if the offense doesn't show up, they're going to get spanked in Buffalo. And deservedly so.
Agreed.
Deservedly so. And frankly, they need a humbling at that point. They need to reset the offense and figure out what they're going to do. Now, the interesting thing is they may get back Pacheco. I think he's still another 2-3 weeks out, but you're going to have Pacheco hard, 1-2 hot, 1-2 in the running back run. And then you're finally trying to figure out, I think you've gotten now 6 catches a game to Kelsey the last 3 games, which has been a good thing. But then you got to figure out that D-Hop situation, and you didn't get the ball at all to Worthy at all. So
and that is
they got
to
make something happen there.
Yeah. Worthy should be stretching the field. He should be the guy that takes him long. D-Hop, while he has great hands, shouldn't be the long guy. He should be the guy in the middle doing the outs. He should be that guy. They got Kelsey who could do it all.
Yep.
And I think they're just out of sync somehow. They don't. You watch how they run the offense, and Mahomes looks like he's a little confused there. I mean, granted, he's running for his life at times too, but he looks a little confused.
I'm just hoping they're not letting Matt Nagy run the offense.
They were just talking about him on the radio of the bad Bears coaches. They were like, you get nice guys who can't coach. Matt Nagy was one of the names.
Nagy was one of them. Now, so hopefully they'll figure it out. But like you said, I think in order to make a run, they're gonna get the offense going at some point in KC, which hopefully we'll see in the next few weeks. Yeah. That said, we just mentioned the Bills. So Bills continue to win. Great win against the Colts. I think the Colts are still going to be a playoff team at the end of the day when they get healthy, if they get healthy. The Colts are still playing with Joey Flack. Love Joey Flack. But
I love Joey Flack. He didn't play great yesterday. Yeah, he didn't play great yesterday. Honestly, the Bills look like they could have lost that game, and then they turned it over towards the end. So,
remember, Bills weren't playing with their 1 and 2 receivers, apparently. They had Shakir playing as their 1. Amari Cooper's still out with an injury, with a wrist injury. We'll see how it all goes. It's gonna be an interesting game next week in Buffalo, mind you. With KC, I think that'll be a great matchup. Now, apparently, even all of the CBS commentators, everybody, they're moving their Sunday show to Buffalo. That's how big of a game it's gonna be next week. So that'll be kind of fun to watch.
Well, I think my thing with that one, real quick before you go to the next one, Buffalo needs to get the Kansas City thing off their shoulder. That's the monkey that they can't get off their back. Same with the Ravens and same with most of the AFC, with the exception of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes. Yep. Nope. Wholly agree. And as long as it's not another double doink off the post or something,
Wide right.
Buffalo's had to overcome 2 things. They had to overcome the Chiefs, but more importantly, they had to overcome 1991.
Yeah.
Scott Norwood.
Yeah, they got to overcome their legacy because they epitomize the agony of defeat. They just have. And Josh was part of that because what did Mahomes have? 17, 11 seconds, whatever that was. You lead the scoring drive, you come off the field, there's like a handful of seconds left. You think you've won the game, and you end up going home and never touching the ball again and losing.
Valid. Yep, very true.
Hey, I got to say one thing to that. Going to another one. One of the teams, Cincinnati, went for a 2-point conversion. And I'm sorry, everybody was yelling at them. Oh, see, they should have gone to overtime. We had just seen that same scenario the week before with Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay lost because they went to overtime with the 50-50 flip and never saw the ball again.
We missed a call in that game for the Bengals. I think there was a missed call at the end of the game.
Oh, man, there were 2 missed calls at the end of the game. Yeah. And I saw the same call last night with Detroit where the guy just sort of lightly touched the face mask, and they called the face mask. That guy didn't lightly touch the one on what's his name? The quarterback. But my goodness, why don't they call that?
Yep. No, and see that, and this is what puzzles me. I get the whole rule that you're supposed to, you automatically replay on scoring drives. Why don't we do it for all end of game situations? I think that should be a universal rule in the NFL. I understand it could slow up play. I kind of get the argument there, but these are decisive factors in a game. I'm sorry,
at
but
the end of the game, and it's at the end of the game.
The Bengals deserve another shot at that 2-point conversion at the end of the day.
Agreed. Matter of fact, not only did they deserve a shot at 2-point conversion. Washington,
yes,
that pass,
one.
If you and they said it just right on the your show.
Yep.
When you're in the end zone and you catch the ball, if they catch the ball and the ball's broken in play, and I don't care if the guy pushes you back to the other end zone, it's still a touchdown.
Yep.
How come that wasn't a first down?
Yeah, I agree.
And they reviewed it. How you review that and still not give them the first down?
That's what really puzzled me. Yep, I totally agree. So no, bad call on that end. Now, hopefully, I'm hoping that turns into a little motivation factor for the Commanders going forward. Because, Dan Campbell, I think he can rile up the troops behind that. I want them to win the NFC East. I'm selfish. I want to see them take out the Eagles. Cowboys are already done. Giants are already done. It would be cool to see the Commanders make this comeback story this year into the playoffs.
Just a slight correction. Dan Campbell is the coach of the Lions.
Sorry, not Dan Campbell. Sorry. Keep forgetting his name.
Yeah, he used Quinn, who came from Dallas. That was a good thing that came from Dallas.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you part with your good talent.
Yeah, I think Quinn, he's another one of those guys. Look at what he's done to the Redskins franchise, yes. And there's no disrespect, and I say that, and it's just that's what I've always known them as. He's that kind of coach, just like Dan and just like a few others, that they can get their players hyped up. They've changed the culture like that between Detroit and Washington, those were two of the worst teams in the league over the last decade or so. And look at where they are now, and look at how they play. Look at the energy that they play with and the joy they play with. That's what you get from coaching.
Yep, totally agree. Let's spin over to the 49ers Buccaneers. I mean, I hate to say it, but Baker Mayfield's having to play with the short hand right now, which kind of stinks. I wish it would be better for them, but they're still putting up a fight in every game they're going in. I mean, they should have beat the Chiefs. They should have beat this Niners team with literally third, fourth stringers, which is amazing. So honestly, I think statistically, I can't remember if he's still on pace, but I think he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in fantasy still to this point, which is crazy.
I can see that. Baker's been lighting it up. The Tampa Bay defense has been letting him down at times. And you said he's sort of working with a short arm. His arm's a little shorter considering that Bosa was hanging on it trying to pull him down, and he made that incredible 4th down throw. I give him credit, boy. Go ahead, Baker. You have come a long way from the guy that they kicked out of Cleveland.
Yep. No, he is the hero of Tampa right now. It would be nice to see, at least if Evans can get back on the field in the next few weeks, it'd be nice for him. I'd like to see them make the playoffs. I think they can make some noise down the road, but we'll see how that plays out.
They could make the playoffs considering the division that they're in. Atlanta lost.
Well, we'll spin right over. How do the Saints beat the Falcons? That was an upset that I didn't see coming.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this because I did a blunder and I might get lucky and still win. I took out Bo Nix because I wasn't sure how he was going to do against Kansas City. I picked up Kirk Cousins on the waiver wire. That guy, as soon as I picked, that's why they played, Pat, because I picked him up and he played like his worst game of the year.
He did. And again, I was stunned by the fact that MVS in New Orleans.
How?
Studies.
Who? I'm surprised that's the guy still in the league. He's been all over the place, but he made a great catch when it counted.
Nope, MVS shows up when it matters, and I'm telling you, him and Carr, they figured it out, even though they're not, they're short Olave, they're short everything in New Orleans.
Shaheed, Olave.
Yep.
And that game shouldn't have been nearly as close.
Oh.
There was a pass that was thrown to Kamara, and I'm telling you, this dude was open by 10 yards.
10 yards easily.
And he was like, blah, 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 blah.
Uh-huh.
That would have been a touchdown easily. He had a linebacker who was trailing him by 10 yards.
Yep. Nope. No doubt there. In that early slate, we'll end with the disappointment for you. Bears Patriots. What the heck happened?
What happened is what I've tried to tell all of my guys I used to play football with and all of that. What I've been telling them all year. You can't get happy just because I felt like we should have kept Justin Fields and taken that draft pick and gotten something else. And I also felt like the coaching staff is the downfall of the Bears, not the players. I mean, some of the players. But it's evident. You can see it now. Caleb you're ruining this guy. And whoever heard of a coach leaving in your potential franchise player when you're down and you can't win the game and just letting them get killed all to the end of the game? Who does that?
You guys are getting Eberflus right now, to say the least.
Oh man, I'm telling you, man, dental floss. Fuck Eberflus. That's all he is. They gotta do better. The McCaskies need to sell the team because they've fallen into this. No, they didn't fall into it. They created this rut of repetitive garbage that they put out on the field.
I will say this. I think 100% of this season, it's I mean, yeah, you have the players, whatever, but I think 100% of it is the coaches, because if you look at it, I think DJ Moore was caught basically quitting on plays already this year.
Oh, yeah, because they're not throwing him the ball, but that doesn't make it what he's doing right.
No, it doesn't make it anything that he's doing right. But at the same time, like if he's quitting on plays, Keenan Allen is on the same page. Like that has to do with your coaching. Like you brought in the talent set around everywhere. You have to make it work as a coach to make it work. And I think it falls on the coaches, the coordinators. I think your GM is doing his job. I think your problem is your internal locker room right now is in chaos and disarray. And
he's lost the locker room.
They have the capability of overcoming their horrible ownership, I think, in this situation. But here's the other problem. Let's say we clean house with coaches again. What? You start Caleb all over again in year 2, and we go down this vicious cycle that we do every 3 years.
You just stated, well, every 3 years for how long?
How long?
During the televised game, they made a statement about the quarterbacks, and they were showing how really it was who were the best Bears quarterbacks. They went to Sid Luckman. He played in the fucking 60s. What is that telling you? Then it was Jim McMahon, who was a great leader, who had average quarterback skills at best. He was like Baker Mayfield of his time. What has been there since? I can name you all the quarterbacks, besides baby hands Rex. And
it would be a contest to put a T-shirt up that shows the number of coaching changes and quarterback changes between the Browns organization and the Bears organization.
Yeah. Well, if you want to go it better, show Browns and Bears, and then on the back show the Steelers. Because that's the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And it's been a problem with the Bears, even in their division. We were playing against Minnesota, who had two quarterbacks over like 20, 30 years, and the Bears had like 55.
Yep.
So, what is that telling you? And the franchise ownership, I love Ryan Pace. He's done some great things in a short period of time. But you say they can overcome it. I'm not sure they can, because we keep seeing the same shit.
Because it's a cycle. Yeah, so you have to have a band together that is strong for 3 to 4 years. You have yet to have that cycle connect on the same cycle. Like, you'll get a new quarterback one year, but then you'll bring in the same shitty coach the following year, and then you got to fire him, start with the quarterback.
He's lame duck, right. You got a lame duck coach. He's going to get fired. Now Caleb has to learn new cadence, new everything. So how are you supposed to learn and grow when shit keeps changing on you every year?
See, to me, you have to follow what you've seen across the league, where if you're going to make a quarterback change or a significant change on whatever the front is, you got to change your coach too at the same time.
Yes.
At the same time.
Yes. They need to be on the same page to begin with. And it needs to be a coach who understands the talent of that player and changes how he coaches to fit the talent and not try to do it the other way around.
Yep.
And we've had that. We had that with Nagy.
Yep.
And Nagy was the worst case of it. This guy was the worst coach. And then you had that with, Trestman. He did well for 1 year. And again, here's my point. The ownership didn't go in the NFL to get an established coach who knew the NFL game. They went to Canada because they didn't want to pay anybody. They weren't hoping that some Canadian would come over here and revolutionize the offensive side of the NFL, and it didn't happen.
At this point, they didn't go get an English Premier Soccer coach. We need to pull up Ted Lasso around here.
Well, and that's the thing, and that you'll never get better with that mentality, and that's the problem with the Bears. That's the problem with all Chicago teams. It's all about making that penny give you one more little drop of water and squeeze it, as opposed to trying to win games to please your fans. You're going to make the money. You're in a big market. You're going to make your money. So. Stop doing that. We can stop talking about the Bears. They're like the Cowboys and the Jets. You shouldn't even really waste 5 words on them because they're that bad.
Speaking of former Bears, we'll go over to the Chargers.
With Mac Daddy.
Yeah, we got Mac Daddy, got the Harbaugh connection.
Got Harbaugh. Kudos to Harbaugh. This guy has weathered the storm. He was in San Francisco. They basically chased his ass out, right? He goes to Michigan. They chased his ass out of there, but he won while he was there, which is something they hadn't done in a long time. And now he's in the pros and he's winning with a team that just a couple of years ago, people thought they were going to be good. They had to get rid of their coach, and look at what they are now.
Yep. No, like I said, I think the Chargers are on their way up. Tough division at the AFC West, but you think about it. You got Harbaugh, you got Sean Payton, you got Andy Reid. And I don't even know what the Raiders are doing anymore.
Antonio Pierce might not have a job after this year, as much as they liked him and gave him the job this year.
Yeah, no,
it's not his fault, though. This is another one of those dysfunctional franchises for a long time, and the person that always takes the fall is the coach.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, he was actually set up to fail because, you had a quarterback. For some reason, you got rid of David Carr. Why? Great quarterback and a great connection that you had with Devontae Adams. Devontae's gone. Now, then you get rid of your linebacking core, and all you're left with is angry man Zach and Crosby. Or sorry, Max.
Max is
the cornerstone. Don't get me wrong; he is the cornerstone of that franchise and the face of that franchise. But get the man some help,
or trade him away and start to rebuild over with a bunch of draft picks and a decent player.
Yes, totally agree. Totally agree.
I feel like that's a problem with a lot of the franchises. Dallas, are you listening? Some think that they're this close to a championship, and they're this close to a championship. And you need to know when that is so that you can start your rebuild the right way.
Exactly. Nope, you got to build from the ground up the right way. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We already touched on Eagles Cowboys. It wasn't even a game. It was a massacre.
Ugh.
Kyler Murray.
I didn't hear
Kyler
you.
Murray, Cardinals.
Did we talk about them? Did we say something about the Cardinals doing that?
Telling you, this guy, he's building up a case for MVP as far as I'm concerned. I think he's carrying that team like you've never seen in a while.
If not MVP, maybe comeback player of the year.
Comeback player of the year, perhaps, too. Yep. No, the guy.
They're playing, and they're getting Marvin Harrison Jr. involved. They got Connor. Connor's knocking people out. You got to love it. Their defense is coming up.
You know, Kyler
McBride.
Murray,
Yeah. Yes.
They got a squad.
They are playing.
Yep. So
you got to love it. And more importantly, not only is I'm happy for them and they're playing because I'm always for the underdog, I just want the Jets to have that get that idle nudge that says, I did everything to please you, Aaron.
Yep.
And it didn't work. So now we got to part ways.
You know what the greatest marriage in the world would be? To implode all of the things we hate right now. You could put Aaron Rodgers on the Cowboys and you could just turn it into one little saga in its own island.
I'd love to see that. They can, unfortunately, because they just paid Dak.
Yeah, well, anything can be parted these days. Think about a Dak versus Aaron Rodgers trade. Just an
I'd love
idea.
to see that.
Just an idea.
And you know what's funny? Both of those franchises will still be the same.
Oh, they'll still say the same, no question. But one had a little bit bigger ego than the other. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. And again, I hate this term, but I think it's true. There are certain players that make other players better. They're great locker room presence. They're true leaders. Then you have other players that make other players worse. Antonio Brown, as great as he was as a receiver, you stick him in the locker room, you're dividing the locker room immediately.
Yep.
And Aaron Rodgers is that kind of player.
Yep, 100%. 100%. And I'm sure over the next 48 hours, the entire airwaves, despite everything else that we've just talked about in football that happened, they'll all talk about the Jets and how they suck and the Cowboys how they suck, instead of the positive things in the NFL, unfortunately, like the Lions, who did a great job last night of coming back, frankly. And
Let's
you know
talk
what?
about the Lions.
They
just won a game they shouldn't have won. They had count them, 5 interceptions. How did they not get beat by 30?
Yep. No, I'm telling you, if that team, if there's going to be a team in the NFC that is now built for the playoffs, and I think built to win, it is the Lions. And I'm still going with it. I think they make their Super Bowl. I think they make the Super Bowl this year.
I feel like they're the best team in the NFC. I think the thing they're going to have to shake off and potentially have to face head on is playing San Francisco again for something meaningful. And
Agreed.
If they were able to take last year's experience where they choked that game away and use that as motivation and learn from it, then yes, they'll make the Super Bowl. If they haven't gotten to that point yet, they won't make the Super Bowl.
I think the benefit this year is the Lions will host that game, and I think that's going to be huge. So San Francisco still have to make it out of that division. Which that division, it's going to be tough. I mean, tonight's game, you got the Rams and Dolphins. So I got to throw a question out to you and the rest of our viewers here. I need 30 points tonight in our league, and our league scores a little bit higher than most. Tua or Stafford?
Honestly, my thought would be Stafford. He's got his weapons back in Puka and Coop. What kind of names? Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. You got to go with that. You got to go with that.
Like my son says, they're about Trolls dolls.
Well, and honestly, Matt Stafford is playing better than people realize.
Yes.
And while I like Tua, and I'm actually in the same boat, I'm up 25 points in another league. I'm playing against Tua. It's not the same kind of points we have in our league. However, Tua could get 25. He's got Waddle. He's got why am I forgetting his name? The speedster was formerly from Kansas City. Tyreek Hill. He's got weapons. He's got the running game too, which makes your passing game go when you are afraid to see A-Train coming and Mostert coming.
And that's the very reason I took Stafford over Tua, because Miami's got the running game they can still lean on. Not to say that the Rams don't have it with Kyron Williams, but you got a 300-headed monster with Miami, between Mostert and the other guy, the A-Chain, and all of those guys. Like they have a bevy of people that they can pass out of in the backfield. Yep. Versus, I think the Rams are going to win. They're going to air it out. It's going to be the Puka and Cooper show for sure. Maybe even Denard Robinson. They've got so many weapons on the receiving side. that they'll make it work. So I'm gonna go with Stafford.
That's the wise play.
30 points. Yep.
Well, and there's one other thing that I don't like to mention, but it's still in everyone's mind. I don't care who you say you are, even if you're in his family. All it takes is one play.
Yep.
All it takes is one play. And I saw him and I applauded it, but I also cringed a little bit when he ran for a first down last week and he went in head first, because that's how he got hurt the last time. And I'm sorry, it's hard to bank on that, because it could be any fluke play, it could be one sack, because you're going to get hit when you're a quarterback. That's all it takes.
The Rams still have Jalen Ramsey, I think
that too. Yeah. I'm hoping that he plays well. I thought that he got traded, but I swear I saw him in a game making an interception, like taking it from the guy in midair. So he's still on their team.
That matchup, Jalen Ramsey versus Tyreek Hill, can be fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. Because Jalen is to kind of get in your face, and Tyreek is explosive. So I can see Jalen doing the Dennis Rodman and Tyreek Hill either going off, because, sometimes you get mad in sports, it makes you play better. And sometimes you get mad in sports and then you lose your focus. So we'll see what happens.
I totally agree. So no, fun matchup tonight. But no, going back to the Lions, like I said, they are built, they're playoff tough. I think as long as they can shore up and get their new defensive guy in and make it work, I really like that team going forward. Eagles obviously are showing something, but they're just beating up crap competition in the Cowboys. So I want to see them actually play next week.
They play Washington.
Thursday night game in Washington. That's going to be fun to watch.
That game might decide the winner of the division.
I think so too. I think that's going to be a fun thing coming up. So we'll definitely touch on that maybe later in the week in terms of our picks for the week. But that's going to be a marquee game. You got KC and the Bills. There's good football has now started, my friends. It's leading into the holidays.
Hey, you know what? I'm looking at the Rams depth chart.
Yep.
You don't see him.
Oh, you know what? He might be on Miami, actually. You know what? I might be thinking the other way.
Maybe it was Miami. You know what? I think you're right. I think that's where he is.
They're teammates now. That's scary.
Yeah, they don't. There's nobody like that on the Rams. Not in the depth chart that I'm looking at.
I'm looking at it too. Oh my God! Did you know that Matt Stafford's backup is Jimmy Garoppolo?
I remember seeing that on one of the game shows. How far has Jimmy fallen?
Pretty boy. So think about this. They actually got a three-headed monster in the Rams. This is interesting. So you got Matt Stafford. You got pretty boy Jimmy. You have Stetson Bennett, national champ from the Georgia Bulldogs.
Stetson Bennett, is that like a new suit line?
No, it's a southern.
Sounds like Stetson Bennett suits.
It's a southern plantation arm.
That could be that too. Yeah, Jimmy. Remember, Jimmy was the star of the show in San Francisco and in the New England the year that Brady went out, which that's how he made his career, right?
Yep.
And boy, he was so mediocre that he's fallen to second string that nobody even knows. He's getting paid, but nobody even knows who he is, where he is.
He like may Waldo. Go his second career as a model, because he could work that whole angle. But
he should definitely do that, because there were a couple times, I forget, with my wife and a few others, they're like, yeah, he's good looking. And it's so funny. Just a side note, how is it that example number one, a woman sees an attractive man on TV and say, yeah, he's good looking.
Mm-hmm.
Example number two, a man sees a good looking woman on TV and says she's good looking. Same verbiage, same wording, everything. But why is it that when the guy says it, it's like, oh my God, you're so vulgar, you're so this, you see. And when a woman does it, the girl's on the side going, yeah, girl, yeah, you right. She still looks good.
Automatic connotation in the negative light for the male individual. That's the sad truth of its society.
Man, we were in Jamaica, and they had this guy, they called him Aquaman. He would do like the water exercises early in the morning. My wife never gets up early in the morning. My wife was up at like 6 a.m. every motherfucking morning waiting for Aquaman, so her and my mom and all of these other women could sit and go, woo, look at Aquaman. Woo, look at Aquaman. And I'm like,
you ever watch Couples Therapy?
No.
It was a great movie, Vince Vaughn and all that. But that was the
premise. I think I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, it's like 4 different couples go to some place.
Yeah. 6 a.m. aquarobics. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing was, I went up to these women. There were a couple of women from Trinidad, Tobago, and we were talking. And I'm like, you guys are ridiculous. Listen to how you guys are like hawking this dude and talking about him. If I did that, you would say that I was a vulgar, gross man. And they said, because men are vulgar and gross, we aren't being vulgar and gross. I was like, you got your tongue, put your tongue back in your mouth, all right? There's enough water in the pool. They don't need your jewel. So don't tell me that stuff.
Not when they're all about to go hawk Tua at 6 a.m. I mean, come on, man.
You'll never get up that early in the morning unless Aquaman is there.
Seriously.
All right. Anyway, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yep.
You had your moment in the sun, and now you're just getting paid until you retire.
Hey, you got to give him credit. He's in LA. You know, he's in the vibe. He's collecting a check. Can't ask for much more in life.
If he's single.
Jimmy G, I gotta think so.
I'm not sure. Let's see. Is Jimmy Garoppolo not single? Let's see.
Well, when he was starting for the 49ers, he was dating a porn star. So if that's any indication of his lifestyle.
Okay. All right. We gotta just address that just for a moment. Is that a pro or a con?
Well, let's go backwards. Rob Gronkowski famously dated a Playboy star, and I believe is still with her, if I'm not mistaken. They aren't married. They've agreed to not get married, but they're still together. And
that's different.
We don't give Rob Gronkowski shit because he's
different. But that's different. You said Playboy something, right?
Well,
Funny, star, whatever it is. Playboy is a little different than like hustler. There was always a difference between Playboy and hustler. Well, this is even more so. Like, you know, how do you hang that with that? Like, you know,
versus, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Hey, honey, you know, we got a premiere. I want you to come see it with me.
Right.
I'm so, you know, I'm feeling a little sick. I think I got COVID. I don't think I can make it. Come on, man. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do that. You could do a sex scene with George Clooney in a major movie. I'm okay with that. But you doing a sex scene with four brothers, hyping it like that, I'm not into that. That's just not where I'm going.
Valid point.
Love you, honey, but you got to quit your job. You need to get a new career.
There's limits.
I heard about dropping the mic, but that's not what they meant.
No. But yeah, porn star Jimmy apparently famously used to go out with porn stars. So I would not see him as someone who would need to settle down. Let's put it that
way. Not if you're going that route. Probably not. He's trying to be a co-star. Can I co-star in one of your movies?
It doesn't take much. I mean, I hate to say it, but there are downfalls to superstars when it happens. I think I didn't get to read all of the details this weekend, but apparently our famous friend from the NBA who used to play on the Cavs when they were winning the title, I forget his name all the time. Surprisingly, he slept with LeBron's mom. I don't know if it was all true. I got to remember the name. I'll think of the name here in a second. He used to actually play for Villanova. It's a weird.
Yes. Light-skinned brother. His name was like.
Yep. Delonte West. Sorry.
Delonte West. That's him.
Yeah, he didn't play for Villanova, so he played for like Rhode Island or something. But yeah, anyway, Delonte West. Yes.
I want to say he played for one of those small Western Valley Conference teams, but he was pretty good.
Yeah, but no, yeah. So Delonte West again apparently was arrested, I think, over the weekend. He's been homeless for like 6 years after his tenure in the NBA. Really sad turn of events because the guy's like been completely messed up after his life in the NBA. But his life got messed up in the NBA after his final year with the Cavs when they won a title and all that. But supposedly got blamed for sleeping with LeBron's mom, which was really weird.
Is that even true? Like, I mean, I get it. You all are partying, you're drinking it up, you know, things happen. I don't know LeBron's mom, can't say anything against her, not trying to even do that. I just thought that was weird. It's not the first time you heard about a player's teammate having sex with either their wife or their daughter or something like that. But I thought that was weird. Yeah, Delonte West, let's see.
Yeah, how do we not get these days? That's what I still can't figure out.
So what, is he some kind of drug addict? He looks horrible. Again, so I get it. I get how that can happen because unlike what people think about developing basketball players and stars, they're picking these guys up from the ghettos in many cases. These guys don't know anything about fame or fortune. They get thrusted into it and they get overwhelmed by it.
Yes.
So I could see how the fame sort of took him in and spit him out.
Yep.
just wondering why there isn't something in place to help them be better at this. He went to St. Joe's. Joseph.
So if you remember a guy named Jameer Nelson, so him and Jameer Nelson were the
Jameer
backcourt.
Nelson was good. Remember little short brother? He could play.
They were the backcourt. They were the backcourt.
They were two backcourt. Yeah, they were good.
St. Joe's, another Philly school, but yeah, no, they were a backcourt out of Philly. They did a hell of an NBA, I think, an NCAA run, if I remember correctly, and that's what got them their fame and fortune in the NBA. Luckily, yep.
So I don't know, Delonte, that was a mistake. If he put it like this, if he did sleep with LeBron's mom, I could see how he ended up where he ended up, because LeBron was probably like, let's blacklist this mother. No team is allowed to pick him up. Let's see how he survives after this.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that's Bronny James's grandma. That ain't cool.
But you know, who was it? It was Mark Grace on the Cubs. I think it was Martinez, Martinez, who was the center fielder at the time, like had sex with his wife. And you know, there've been a lot of stories of that. So it's not.
How do we not give Doc Rivers shit? Apparently, dude. Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers. He had an affair with who's the guy's name does the Up in Smoke podcast? I'll think of it in a second. Hold on, give me a minute.
Up in Smoke. I don't know that one.
Hold up. I'll give you just a second. Or not Up in Smoke. What the hell was it? Shoot. I'll think of it in a second here. Matt Barnes.
Wow, Matt Barnes did Doc Rivers' wife?
No, the other way around. Doc Rivers did Matt Barnes' wife. And they had a whole thing about the Clippers. Yeah. There's a whole.
And I think Matt Barnes is still married, isn't he?
I don't know if it's the same one.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's a whole like triangle thing, messed up thing going on over there with the Clippers back in the day. Let me see if I can find the notes on that one.
Married 2013 to 2016 to Gloria Govan.
All right, Matt Barnes, Doc Rivers. Here we go. Let me see if I can find the details here.
I'm not sure.
I'll find it here in a second.
They split in 2014.
Yeah, that would have been the time of all this crap. Hold up.
Wow. So this is something they have. So they're saying that Barnes and Govan had a messy divorce after splitting in 2014 after 2 years of marriage. They settled the divorce in 2016, but then before her divorce was finalized, she cheated with his ex-teammate Fisher, which I think is Derek Fisher.
Derek Fisher, sorry, I'm getting two people. It's not Doc Rivers, Derek Fisher. Sorry, yep.
Yeah,
that's it.
Who was also married at the time that he cheated on Matt Barnes' wife. He was cheating on his wife.
You guys mixed up. Sorry, yeah. Not Doc Rivers, yeah.
So there's a lot of that, and I don't know. I would say as an athlete, and I know we're closing out in about 4 minutes or so. I would say as an athlete, I would have done what Charles Barkley did. Who knew that Charles Barkley was married?
Yep.
When Charles Barkley was, doing his thing in the NBA, nobody, because he was acting a fool. I would have been. That's how you have it. Look, honey, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I'm going to be in some situations that I might not be able to manage or be, disciplined enough to respect you.
Yep.
So please know that I love you. What I might end up doing has nothing to do with love. It just has to do with that moment and that time. Don't think of me less because of it. Yeah. And if I can get you to agree to that, then I can be myself, make the money, do what I need to do. You'll still have a great life, and hopefully you'll still respect me in the morning.
I call that open honesty in the culture that it is. Absolutely. Makes perfect sense.
That's the reality. Ask Sean Kemp. Sean Kemp got like 10 baby mamas, and
he said the original
precedent. Money.
Yeah, he set the original precedent, but it's been broken 10 times over by many other players.
Oh yeah.
Even Tyreek Hill's on number 9, if I recall correctly.
Is he really?
9 kids. 9 kids, 4 women, though, I think. The record, I think, goes to this other guy who used to be a running back for the Broncos. I got to look it up. Travis Henry? No, not Travis Henry. I got to think of the name. I'll think of the name. There's a running back for the Broncos, though. He set the record because he had 13 kids with 13 women.
I'm sorry, they have this thing called a condom, and it may not be natural like you used to feeling it, but it'll help you a lot when it comes to legal issues.
Well, and again, this goes back to the whole thing, like NBA, NFL, whatever it is. You need a training program in place for these kids coming out of school because they can't figure out the lifestyle afterwards. Obviously, you're going to get paid millions. I'm sorry. You're going to end up giving away millions too.
Well, I think the biggest thing is you got to learn how to manage temptation. Hey, I get it. You're a guy on the street. You're going out and party. You want to talk to girls. Now you're $1 million athlete and you have a label and a brand and an image that you need to uphold.
And you're a target.
How do you do that?
Yeah, and you're a target at the end of the day, especially even more so in today's environment because you got this little Instagram world, as I like to call it. And, all these little, women and men both, dress up and do whatever, and they'll try to get attention, and boom, they'll try to target high dollar athletes. Let's face
yes,
facts.
They do. Gold diggers, they call them.
Yes, sir.
But, or chicken heads or whatever you want to call it in today's world. I just think you should have the best wingman in the world. Oh, like it'll be like a cut scene in a movie. Be like, cut. Okay, put in your double. Like when it came to the sex scene, it'd be like, look, you can't have sex with this person because you're gonna end up with another kid and da. Let me take your place. I'll groove it. You can watch, be like that cuckold husband. And we'll see you and you get to save your money. You get the idea in your mind of how it would have been. And
we've
seen, all good.
We've seen the full spectrum of this across every level of athlete. I mean, Kobe got caught. Here's a $30 million ring to make up for it. Okay, there's one piece of pie. Jordan, was loyal to a point, and then, after playing days, that was over. That was over.
Jordan was filthy.
Then you have the opposite end of it. You got LeBron, who's been with his high school sweetheart ever since. Props to him. But it's all over the place in that whole dynamic. At the end of the day, temptation exists. We know that 100%.
And the flesh is weak.
Yes. Yes. There's shit that we don't know about until people write their books afterwards,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. You just gotta be mindful of that, people. Your life changed forever when you were able to make millions of dollars. So yes, it's a game that you love to play, but now it's a whole different type of game. The game is expanded. It's like 3D chess. You got to learn how to think ahead. You got to be able to prepare yourself. We talked about this before. I had this idea decades ago about having that agency that helps the agents keep their guys in place, so you don't have the John Morant's going to a bar with a gun because he doesn't need to feel like he needs to have a gun to impress his guys. Yep. I got a gun. It's called a big wad of money. That's your impressing of your guys. You don't need that other stuff in your life. Build your brand, build your name, and at least try to keep that for 5 years. You can make a couple $100 million, and then you can act the fool as much as you want. Yes, sir. Well, to whatever degree. Again, we'll go back to the simple premise of what we talked about. Be respectful, be kind, exist as a human in the world. Simple as that. And that is universal no matter what you're doing. Respect what you do, respect yourself. Respect others until they give you a cause for not respect them. But if you live by those tenets, I think you're going to do okay. Because you should always be doing the right things. At least two of those tenets you're going to always be thinking about. So, people, let's do that because we aren't respecting each other. There's a lot of hate out here, a hate of others and hate of yourselves. Yep. And first, you got to learn how to love yourself before you love somebody else. So build that love, build that strength, and build that understanding of who you are, and then be able to spread that love across your landscape and your immediate environment and everywhere else. And maybe we could be a better nation because there's a lot of hate and stupidity out there. And I don't know what's going to happen to this world tomorrow, but I know if we all sort of, what is the basic, what is the rule, what is the good rule or the you want to do others as you want done to yourself. Simple as that. That isn't hard to do. And it starts with respecting yourself and respecting others. If you do those things, I'm pretty sure we could be a better world than the one we're building today. We can have a better world tomorrow. Wholeheartedly. On that note,
we'll recap at the end of the week and put our predictions in for week 11. But in the meantime, hopefully you guys enjoyed our little recap of week 10. And like I said, another game tonight. Enjoy and be well.
So real quick for tonight, who do you got?
I'm going Rams. It's in LA. I don't think Miami can play that well on the road. I still like that. I thought I took Stafford, so I'm gonna be selfish. I'm gonna go with the Rams.
I would go with the Rams as well for those very reasons. They're at home. They're in the midst of a divisional battle.
Yes,
and they're in the midst of it. And I don't think that's enough. I don't think Miami has that same motivation right now.
At that next level. Yep, I agreed.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. Again, we salute all of the people out there who served our nation to protect our rights and our freedoms. We thank you, and we appreciate you.
Yep, absolutely. On that note, we'll recap again later this week.
All right. Peace, bro.
Yep. See ya.